Good morning, dear friends. How are you on this wonderful day the Lord has given to us? Today, you're allowed to talk about a wonderful young man who started his career as a software engineer and in Bangalore. One day, when he went to have a good lunch, he was coming out of the restaurant, found a poor man sitting at the door of the restaurant begging for food. That shocked him that there are people who are in this big city going without a square meal many days. So that changed his life totally on that day. He went and bought a food for that man who was begging for food, and he put all the money he saved so far from his good earning and finding people stranded on the street, abandoned, orphans, and aged people who have no support of the family. He started feeding people like that. Now he's feeding more than 3,000 people every day. He got support from wonderful and generous people, and he is doing a great work of love for the suffering humanity. That makes me to think about how often, with all the privileges and all the opportunities we have in our life, we complain. There are people who always see the bright and sunny side of life. That doesn't mean we are supposed to ignore or do not acknowledge the suffering in our midst, in our life. Day to day life, we see so much of suffering with all kinds of diseases, the present moment, COVID-19, and economic difficulties and struggles. We see always problems surrounding us. But how do we, as true believers in Christ and in His ways, can deal with our life day by day? How do we look at life with a gentle and happy way of dealing with life? We always should believe that hope is more real than despair. Faith is more real than distrust. And love is more real than fear. Does that make sense to you? These things make us to think about. And that young man from India inspire us to look at the positive side of life every day. Amidst suffering and struggles of life, there are so many things we can always appreciate and being grateful and enjoy what they bring to our heart, the joy and the life and the encouragement they bring in our life. I have seen people who are always complaining about, oh, there is so much of war, so much of cheating, so much of corruption in politics, so much of wrong focus on ideas and life in our culture. We can always talk about the negative sides of life constantly. But what do they do to you? These things, by talking, you are not going to resolve them all. It brings more a negative spirit into you and take the joy out of your life. Are we not supposed to bring the hope and joy of Christ into everyone's life? There is sun, there is cloud. Sometimes the clouds hide the sun. That doesn't mean the sun ceased to exist. You are able to see the cloud because there is a sun. If you look at it that way, then you realize we are all called to be like the sun, bright, shiny, gentle, loving, always radiating joy and positive attitude. If we can do that, that will become contagious, being optimistic about life, bringing hope into someone's life who is in despair, and strengthening the faith of someone who is in great distress of God and others, and removing fear by our loving presence. That is a possibility. Let us choose that, being on the side of optimism, positive approach to life. That will not only change your own spirit and consciousness into looking at things differently, but also put more energy and life to lot of things and into people who can catch up what you are filled with. The true optimism that comes from a deep faith that really inspire and encourage one another to look at life more positively, to count the blessings, and to be grateful to God for all the great things He is doing to you today and every day. May God bless you and thank you for listening. Be positive. The Lord will bring more blessings to you.